you. Do you like them? Very expensive. But guess what? I bought them myself. How about that? Have you ever known a new Prime Minister get off to a worse start than Keir Starmer?
Nigel Farage destroyed Starmer. It's shocking, but the Prime Minister's rating is much lower than Farage's. I doubt anyone can have an even lower rating than Starmer. Justice has finally prevailed. He got what he deserved. We start watching the first scene.
An NHS in which you can't get a GP appointment, roads that are clogged beyond comprehension, and frankly, I thought to myself, Britain is broken. And then I couldn't help it. Well, if Britain is broken, then logically, Britain needs reform.
So most people face a terrible problem. They cannot make an appointment with a therapist. Therefore, you have to turn to self-medication or seek help from people who understand medicine. So this is a tragedy caused by the inaction of the government, which does not fulfill its promises to hire more therapists. In some parts of the country, personal appointments with general practitioners have become a real rarity. So the situation reached a critical point. People are forced to treat themselves or even prescribe medications for themselves because they cannot get the necessary help from a local therapist. So this is not just a health problem, it is a crisis that affects the lives and health of millions.
In fact, at almost every level, we've been betrayed. And then I thought about what was happening on our streets. The rise of knife crime, the rise of gun crime, the fear of people even in the smartest parts of London to go out for a drink or dinner and for a man to wear a watch or a woman to wear jewelry. I thought about what mass uncontrolled immigration on a scale the likes of which we'd never seen had done to divide our communities.
This is a terrible and disturbing reality of our country. Crimes involving the use of bladed weapons continue to occur with terrifying frequency. Official statistics confirm that the number of crimes has increased by 4% over the past year. Starmer, despite his statements about how hard it is for him to hear these tragic stories, actually shows complete indifference to what is happening. His migration and justice policies are only exacerbating an already disastrous situation as he continues to release criminals from prison instead of looking for real solutions and fighting the root causes of the problem. It's not just inaction, it's disregard for people's lives.
The point about them, it doesn't matter who leads them, the brand is bust. The brand is broken. People will not go back to them. They've let us down so badly. And as for Labour, I mean, goodness me. Have you ever known a new Prime Minister get off to a worse start than Keir Starmer? It's truly shocking. I mean, the message of things can only get worse is hardly inspiring, is it?
The survey revealed the truth. The vast majority of Britons are disappointed with Starmer's work. He is clearly not coping with the duties of the Prime Minister, and this is becoming more and more obvious. I think it's hard to find a person right now who will support Starmer's actions. Of course, if it's not Labour, his friends, sugar daddies. The situation is aggravated by the gift scandal, which undermines his reputation, as well as his complete failure in the fight against mass riots. He was unable to stop the flow of illegal migrants across the English Channel. Under his leadership, more than 10,000 people have already crossed the strait. And as if that wasn't enough, he decided to cut winter fuel subsidies for retirees despite catastrophically high energy prices. It seems that we have to prepare for another tax increase again, and this is simply unbearable.
Years. Labour have not won through love. So the opportunity is there, and that is why we must take the English County Council elections next year, plus areas like Doncaster and areas like Thurrock, where the district councils are up. Our first big test of fire comes on the first Thursday in May next year.
People were eager to show their attitude towards the Conservatives. Although the Labour Party achieved victory, their merit in this is secondary. Starmer seemed like a typical boring politician who turned out to be much worse. And of course, voters were more attracted to the party itself and its principles.
1 in 4 of those that voted Labour in the general election on July the 4th. 1 in 4 already say they are considering, they are inclined to vote for Reform UK. Already. We do not need to change the mind of a single person living in this country.
Starmer is drowning in historically low numbers. Farage continues to spark inspiration and motivation. He is famous for his straightforwardness and courage to tell the truth even when it causes a storm of indignation. Starmer is the epitome of hypocrisy and indifference, which has become a symbol of our political tragedy. Farage exudes determination and charisma, attracting people to him, while Starmer looks like he is a mentally ill, depressed person who needs absolutely nothing. So I've never met such boring and lifeless people. His every performance is not just a stream of lies, it's unconvincing chatter that makes you want to close your ears. He is completely disconnected from reality and does not understand the needs of ordinary people who are suffering. Why is that? Because he doesn't give a damn about the needs of the people. For him, the main thing is to profit from the suffering of people and surround himself with influential friends who generously give him expensive gifts. I am deeply ashamed that he holds the post of Prime Minister. It's not just a shame, it's a shame that brings our country to its knees.
And now we're living in a state, and you all know it, but they'll deny it in Westminster until the cows come home. We're living in a state with two-tier policing. We're living in a state with two-tier justice. We're living in a state that is led by two-tier keir, and we've had enough already.
Why does the government deliberately worsen our standard of living by allocating billions to help other countries? How can they justify such a colossal expenditure? Every time we see millions going to pay for hotels, I am filled with anger. It's just inconceivable. Our citizens are suffering in need of help and support, but the government continues to ignore them. How can they be so indifferent to the fate of your citizens? We demand respect for ourselves, but instead what you only promises.
There's some extraordinary celebratory scenes outside Britain's prisons where in some cases serious career criminals were released. And this to make way for, yes, rioters, but equally those who've said unpleasant things on Facebook and elsewhere on social media. Does the Prime Minister understand there is a growing feeling of anger in this country that we are living through two-tier policing and a two-tier justice system?
In many cities of our country, protests are breaking out against the uncontrolled influx of migrants. So it's instead of hearing the voice of the people, Starmer chose the path of threats and intimidation, promising to incite new police forces against the demonstrators. Did you know that the London police accepted people with criminal records? Yes, these people still wear police uniforms. There are 78 known police officers who have committed serious criminal offenses in the past. This is simply outrageous. It turns out that the police, instead of protecting their citizens, often find themselves on the side of migrants who commit crimes, protecting those who in fact are like themselves.
I'm angry to be put in a position of having to release people who should be in prison because the last government broke the prison system. And the Prime Minister was repeatedly warned. He had his own release scheme. He was repeatedly warned that he had to adopt the scheme that we put in place. The former Justice Minister said if we don't do it, we'll have to get down on our knees and pray. The police chiefs made it absolutely clear in a letter to him before the election that he needed to take action, saying that they wouldn't be able to discharge their duties and saying the risk was loss of an ability to detain suspects. That means, Mr. Speaker, an inability to arrest people committing.
Thousands of prisoners have begun to be released early to free up space in overcrowded prisons. Keir Starmer personally decided to release dangerous criminals. One of them even proudly stated that Starmer's policies had made him a lifelong supporter of the Labour Party. It sounds like a mockery of common sense. However, we all understand that about a third of those released may return to a life of crime. Overcrowding in prisons only exacerbates the situation, creating conditions in which recidivism becomes almost inevitable. What do you think about this video? Write your opinion in the comments. See you.